Hello, this is Rafa Monpo, freelance telecom professional. I'm talking in the next few minutes about the history of switches and IMS. Okay, let's go. 30 years ago, telephony switches were analog and very big. You needed a whole building to house them. Then, 55 years ago, more or less when I was studying my telecommunications program at university, telephone switches became digital, which opened the world of primitive value-added services. All the same, high-performance private switches for medium and large companies became very popular. But 15 years ago, something happened. Telephony was liberalized in Europe, and some new telecom operators found that IP networks were their opportunity to compete with traditional operators. Voice over IP started its successful journey. The concept was known as softswitch, since it was a cheap way to move calls from one country to another. And that way, new international products could be offered to big and medium companies. All the same, soft switches could be configured to offer value-added services oriented to corporate telephony services, spreading easily over many facilities and countries. But voice over IP and soft switches were more important than expected. Yes, now that voice services were delivered by IP networks and those networks were also becoming more and more broadband, there were no excuses to start thinking on the new paradigm which was called convergence. Those days the convergence concept was applied to many cases, but the two that made more sense were A. Fixed mobile convergence, B. Triple play convergence. That is, telephony, television, and data. Firstly, convergence was constructed with old technology, and as a result, networks were too complex and expensive, which resulted in not so rich services as expected. So that new technology concepts were necessary, which were open enough in order to allow such richness of services and contents, and cheap enough with respect service and network management. The technologies were called with a generic name, NGN, that stands for Next Generation Networks. But today, one of those next generation networks technologies appears to be the winner, the Internet Multimedia Subsystem, IMS. In my opinion, the two key success factors for IMS to become the winner standard are the open interfaces and the viability of using common hardware and software platforms.